Hello there friends and welcome. For today's Elden Ring guide we have a very fun and quite thematic build. A Holy Crusader Paladin, and will of course be smiting all of the toughest DLC bosses. This character is a complete blast to play. It's not only very fashionable and aesthetic, but also quite powerful, as you'll get to spam the holiest ability of them all, which creates not only highly damaging holy explosions, but even unleashes loads of projectiles that smite the enemy from afar. It's a multi-hit combo that can deal thousands worth of damage, with just one use even higher than 5000, and the best part, every single hit, including the projectiles, will heal your character, which means you will get to face tank through the power of your faith alone. It can even break the enemy's stance with ease, as 3 hits will be enough for any DLC boss, which of course makes them easy targets for your critical attacks. Speaking about faith, you'll also be quite versatile with access to all the best incantations in the game at full power, so the highest incantation scaling. Lastly, it's not just a DLC build, because this character can also be played even from the very start of the game at close to full power. So without further ado, let us get into our Faith Holy Crusader Paladin build. First, with a section on how to play this character and your core skills. The star of the show is of course the Golden Land Ash of War. You can acquire this early if you rush for it, and it's absolutely amazing at what it does. As I mentioned before, it's actually a multi-hit Ash of War. You'll first slam your weapon on the ground, this can already hit the enemies multiple times, then unleash a big explosion, and after that create loads of holy projectiles that can hit the enemies even from far away. Everything inflicts poise damage. As a matter of fact, even the projectiles themselves can stance break the enemy, which is very fun when it happens. But by default, for the main game in 2 strikes you are poise breaking most enemies. For the DLC against the bosses, it takes 3. Do note that you can actually follow up Golden Land at the very end of its animation with a heavy strike as a combo, by pressing the heavy attack button of course. Be careful however when using this follow-up strike. Ideally you just wanna use it if the enemy is at the end of their combo or you have an opening. For the fastest enemies in the game, like the final boss of the DLC, I would rather dodge at the end of the casting animation to see if you have a proper window to cast Golden Land again, because while it does have a nice amount of hyper armor so you can't really get staggered out of the animation, there's still a very slight delay once you start the attack, during which you can be staggered. Anyways, Golden Land is absolutely busted, it looks very cool, quite thematic for a Holy Paladin build, and most importantly, when combined with our ultimate weapon, the Great Star's Great Hammer, because it will heal you on every hit, around 1% of your HP, it actually works for every single one of the multi-hits from Golden Land, including even the projectiles themselves, which is very fun as you'll always be regenerating lots of hit points, even from range. Speaking about range, while Golden Land does have somewhat short range, because of its multi-hit nature and the fact that projectiles will attack the enemy from far away, it's not really wasted if you miss the enemy, so that's even better. But ideally you wanna use it close to enemies of course, to make use of its multi-hit potential to the max for huge amounts of damage. Now that we know the main strengths of our build and how to play it, let's get into stat allocation and level up at last. First, you absolutely need 15 strength. This is required to properly equip your Great Star's weapon. While it requires 22 strength, when two-handing it 15 is more than enough. After that, Faith is the way to go for maximum damage. 80 is a good stopping point. The main reason I'm increasing Faith is because the explosions and also the projectiles from Golden Land all scale based on your Faith. So if you want the highest damage with it, that's the way to go. Plus, what Holy Crusader Paladin wouldn't be faithful, right? This is also thematic for our character. Second, high Faith also makes you quite versatile because you can then rely on all of the best incantations in the game at full scaling. Besides that, the classic 60 Vigor for a nice amount of hit points, It can help you face tank the enemies after all you're constantly getting healed, due to the multi-hit nature of Golden Land plus your Great Star's weapon. The remaining points can be spent into Mind and Endurance, although Golden Land has a rather low FP cost, but something like 20 Mind is more than enough. The rest goes into Endurance. Now, the most fashionable armor for a Crusader, as I'll explain soon enough, is actually quite light in weight, so even something like 20 Endurance is enough to equip it and still remain under medium load. But depending on how high you want to level this character, higher than 150 for example, well, just spend the remaining points into Endurance for higher equip load and also higher stamina. Now what about Arcane? Well, it can help if you want to cast some of the incantations that require it. For example, 10 points lets you cast Blood Flame Blade, an amazing buff, 15 Blood Flame Talons, or even 17 for Grail's Roar. But these are just bonuses, you don't need the spells on this character. Now let us cover gear for our Holy Crusader Paladin. For the weapon, as I mentioned before, Great Stars of course, ideally with the Sacred Infusion. This way you can achieve very high attack rating. We have higher than 2000 here when two-handing, as it will scale based on your faith, and well, we did go for high faith. If you went with strength, heavy is enough, and then you can buff it with a few spells like Blood Flame Blade. Early in the game you can also go for the Great Club, as it already has Golden Land by default, before you find it as a standalone Ash of War. It does have higher strength requirements, 35, but you can make do with 24 when two-handing it. Great Stars of course is better. The other weapons are only for utility. For example, you can use a short sword with the Seppuku Ash of War to pre-buff before bosses, not very Paladin-like, but the extra damage when combined with gear like Lord of Blood's Exaltation can help. Other than that, just a Sacred Dagger with the Endure Ash of War, just if you wanna cast some of your holy spells without being staggered during boss battles. For the offhand, we just have our Sacred Seal. Feel free to start with Finger Seal, later upgrade into the Air Tree Seal, as it does have the highest incantation scaling for maximum spell damage when you have such high faith, 80 points. Now what about armor? Well, for once, I decided to go all out into full fashion for this character, so that you can truly look like a Holy Crusader, of course. For the helm, nothing is better than the Great Helm. It's obviously not the best defenses-wise, but looks-wise, it's what you get. Besides that, the chain set, so chain leggings, the gauntlets, can also fit this character because of your armor. The Tree Sir coat. This also has a golden variant in the Helic Tree Crest Sir coat. I think both are really good for Crusaders and Paladins. Of course, if you don't care for fashion and wanna min-max, then the white mask for your helmet. After all, your Great Stars will bleed the enemy, and you can pre-buff with Seppuku before battle anyways to already proc the bleed bonuses for a higher attack rating. Lastly, if you wanna use the Winged Crystal Tier for higher equipment load, I found the 3 Sentinel set quite aesthetic as well. It's heavy armor, but I think it looks really nice on a Holy Crusader Paladin type of character. Thankfully, even if you go for fashion, this character has been built to have good enough defenses and lifesteal so that you can equip any armor you want. Now let's cover our talismans. Dragon Crest Great Shield as always, for the highest amount of physical damage negation to help you survive. Followed by the Shard of Alexander to increase the damage of your Ashes of War, most importantly, even higher Holy Land damage. You can then go with more damage negation or more offensive power. Golden Braid, for example, is amazing for both the final bosses of the main game and DLC, who are all about holy damage, just like yourself. Then, if you are willing to use Seppuku, Lord of Blood's Exaltation for higher damage, or the Sacred Scorpion Charm to increase the power of your Golden Land Ash of War, which is holy damage also. Just remember, this will reduce your damage negation slightly, which can be somewhat annoying in the DLC against high damage enemies. Godfrey's icon is here if you want to use some of the holy spells that can be charged, as I'll soon explain. And well, you can even use stuff like Crimson Ember Medallion +3 for higher hit points, or the upgraded Seed Talisman for higher healing effects on your flasks. I'd rather Ember Medallion +3, because that's even higher healing from our multi-hit combo with Great Stars and Holy Land. For consumables, just boiled crab for higher physical damage negation, but you can also use the Black Flames protection spell as you have enough faith for it. Speaking about faith, let's now cover our best spells. It's mostly buffs, as with any true holy warrior. So first, Golden Vow for extra damage and damage negation, also Blessing of the Air 3 for regeneration. Earlier you have Bestial Vitality or Blessing's Boon. And I've just released a guide on how to properly tank with any build, including this character, so please check that out if you wanna know how to properly use these spells. Black Flames protection or just eat the crabs. The other spells aren't necessary, only if you wanna actually cast holy spells instead of just spamming Holy Land. But Giant Golden Arc is absolutely amazing for enemy packs during normal exploration, while multi-layered Ring of Light can be great for single enemies, even some enemy packs because it does have area of effect and can stagger enemies quite easily. Both are holy, which of course is great for our character. Besides that, just weapon buffs. Order's Blade is the most thematic of them all. It looks really cool on a Holy Crusader character, but has a few downsides. First, it requires 13 intelligence, which is kinda wasted on our character. Second, amusingly enough, a sacred weapon with 18 intelligence has higher attack rating than when buffed with Order's Blade. So it's only really here for fashion. Meanwhile, Blood Flame Blade can help you early, even later if you prefer, as it only costs 10 arcane. And you can even use Electrify Armament as well, but it suffers from the same issue as Order's Blade. Well, at least it doesn't require intelligence. Besides that, they aren't holy spells but still useful, as I've shown in my Faith guide, such as Past Red Spears for big enemies like dragons, or even Scarlet Aeonia to debuff the enemy's health at the start of battle. And don't forget, you can use anything, including the dragon lightning spells and so on. Now what about our Wondrous Physic Mix Flask? Opaline Heart here as always for the amazing source of damage negation against all types, followed by the Holy Shrouding Cracked Tear after all holy is our main damage, both for our holy thematic spells and the Golden Land Ash of War. Besides that, if you wanna use the 3 Sentinel set and have light rolling potential, the Winged Crystal Tear, unless you spend a lot of levels into Endurance. For Great Runes, just Morgoth as usual for the highest hit points. But because of our multi-hit Ash of War, you can even go with Melania's if you prefer. Earlier, Godric's as always for the bonus to all stats. Well, alright friends, so this was it for our ultimate Holy Crusader Paladin guide. If you found it useful, please remember to like, subscribe, and also consider becoming a channel member if you can. I really appreciate your support. Thank you for watching and see you next time friends with our Intelligence Face Tank Caster build.